Hey guys, we're here at the KHI show with Noe B and Ricardo Palacios. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. How about yourself, Noe?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a good while since we've been doing this, but we're gonna talk a little bit about the combative sports down here in the Rio Grande Valley. There's been a lot of events going down out here. I mean, this is something good for the valley, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, the Valley's staying real active with the combative sports, boxing and MMA. So it's real good, for exposure for all fighters from boxing to MMA.
I love that, man. You know, it's becoming what Houston is, what Dallas is, what San Antonio is. The fight scene's been blowing up so much. As a matter of fact, we just recently had Hero FC down in Brownsville, Texas. You were out there, right?
Yeah, I was cornering one of my guys, Santiago Cobos. Unfortunately, he didn't come out with the win, but it was a good show overall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a little bit about your guy, man. He came out. He looked like a way different fighter. I've seen him fight before, and he was actually training with you. I could see where the training paid off, man. It really did. He did a lot, man.
Yeah, I know. He was a different fighter. He came out to fight. He hadn't fought in 2 years. But a quick little mistake. MMA, that's the way it works. One little mistake, and the whole fight turns around.
Yeah, and that's what happens, man. He was landing all the punches. He was landing all the strikes. He got caught on an arm bar. But, yeah, overall, man, he was definitely a crowd pleaser, man. He came to fight. But you know what? Hero FC, they've been around for a good while. They're planning to stick around for a long time. They're having a $50,000 contract for championship fighters, man. That's something, that's great. But let's talk a little bit about the main event on the last Hero FC. It was Elias Urbina versus Travis Cox, man. As a matter of fact, that fight, man, Urbina won by a TKO. You heard about that fight, right?
Yeah. It was a quick fight, 22 seconds actually, in and out. Just, that's what we train for. To try to finish the fight as fast as we can. But, 22 seconds, that's crazy.
What I like about that fight, man, Urbina was controlling the shots, and he was picking his shots, and that's something that you're no stranger to. But he actually caught him with a check hook, standing in an orthodox position, and he landed a nice hook right in the chin, dropping his opponent, and went straight and executed his opponent, worked his ground and pound. The referee actually stopped that fight, man. I thought that he actually broke his jaw at that point, and then some people thought it was an early stoppage. But what happened was that he got a cut
On his cheek.
On his cheek. Well, yeah, from the lip, and every time, I was talking to the referee. Every time he was hitting him, the cut was opening up, so he was getting a bigger smile.
Yeah. It's very important to know, to really talk to the referee after the fight and see what's happening, because people thought it was an early stoppage, but we don't know a lot of the details when we're in the fight. Fighters get hurt sometimes pretty bad, and we don't even know. So it's very important for the referee to do his job, and that stoppage. If he saw something bad about, that was happening to the fighter, and he stopped it, then hey, that's a good thing, for the fighter.
Yeah, sometimes I watch the fight, not so much as a media or a coach. I watch it as a fan as well, too. So when I saw that fight, I was like, hey, what the hell, man? It was an early stoppage. I wanted to see more. But at the same time, I figured, you know what, let me find out what happened.
Yeah, and then he got stitched up afterwards, so,
So it was a good stoppage on referee Colazo. We had good referees. Texas does have real good referees, even though we get mad at them every once in a while.
It's part of the game. We always, find something wrong, but, we don't see it in their eyes.
And on top of that main event, Elias Urbina, his brother actually fought on that card, Gilbert, and he's a very exciting fighter, and he has something in common with you too every time he steps in the cage, right?
Well, he comes out with a cowboy hat, so, it's pretty cool. More people are doing it, I guess, now. But, I started doing it from amateur. My very first amateur fight, I started doing it. Something that runs in my blood as a Latino, as a Mexicano, But it's real interesting to see him come out with a cowboy hat. And then came out to that cowboy song, Kid Rock. That's the first song I came out with. So it's pretty cool.
And to actually execute the fight like the way you do, right?
Well, yeah. Everybody has different styles, but, he adjusts real good, and that's what I like. I saw him. He's real technical. The guy was trying to capitalize on his mistakes, but he adjusted and, won that fight.
Yeah, he won that fight by submission, man. He's a very exciting fighter. The brother, it runs in their blood, man. They train. They're out of the Rio Grande Valley, but they go and train in Florida at AT&T.
Yeah, their older brother is in the UFC, so his older brother usually, is branched off AT&T. So they always go to ATT over there. They actually went and cross-trained with ATT Kendo. Have a few friends over there, and they were telling me all about it. So, pretty interesting. Guys from the Valley going to Florida, Kendo, Miami, and getting that other or that different training.
And that's something that you're not a stranger to either, because I know you actually travel and train somewhere else. I've been seeing a lot of that now. A lot of Valley fighters. It's came a long way, man. The combative sports have came a long way down here in the Rio Grande Valley, where fighters are needing the itch to actually travel outside of the valley to get some training.
Yeah, well, you need to get out of your element, in somebody else's regiment. Go and see what their training is about. See how different it's from yours. What can you learn off of it? Because we're stuck in our comfort zone, and we get used to what we do. So we know how to pace ourselves, when to take a break. But when you go into somebody else's territory and go and do their training, you're in their time, you're in their breaks, you're in their, everything they do. So it's not up to you, and you're able to pick up other stuff.
And one thing I always say is, if you're kicking everybody's ass in the gym, you need to go somewhere else, because you're not helping yourself out.
Well, a good friend of mine, Hector Munoz, a full contact fight academy coach, he when I first started as an amateur, he's the one who told me, hey, Rick, sometimes you can, sometimes you got to be the hammer, and sometimes you got to be the nail. You can't be the hammer all the time. You won't learn from it.
Yeah, definitely. That's true, man. But let's also talk about Ray Trujillo against Dimitri Ivory. They were fighting for the title. Ray Trujillo actually had the $50,000 contract, and, that's a life changer. But, unfortunately, he didn't get the win on this fight. He lost by a rear naked choke in the first round against Ivory, man. What does that mean to you when you lose your title fight, man?
Well, man, first of all, $50,000 out there, it gets fighters even more hungry. You get hungrier for that, knowing that Jeff Manugli and Hero FC are changing fighters' lives. So you want to go and get a piece of that. So Ivory came and did his job, and defeated Trujillo, took his title away. And I mean, off a loss, you could only get better. I got one loss in my career, and I've learned a lot off of it, and I feel like I've become a better person, a better fighter.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty and the bad thing about MMA is that you could be the best fighter and lose a fight, and sometimes it's not your night, or sometimes it was the other guy's night. It's ups and downs, and that's what it's about. But as a matter of fact, man,
it's part of competition.
Exactly. Ivy, actually, his brother was fighting for a title in San Antonio the same night, the same time. They were both main event fighters, and they both won the belts, man. So how crazy is that? Your twin brother.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's actually really crazy. And I mean, they celebrated pretty good. 2 titles in the family, same night. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, man. So that was pretty crazy. They couldn't be there to support each other, but they got that belt. But let's go on to Hayward Charles versus Gemini Atkins. They call him Baby Hercules. That fight took me for a loop because I expected a little bit more from Atkins. Unfortunately, he didn't make the weight.
Yeah, he came out heavy, and Charles was a little. I mean, I was at the weigh-in, so he was kind of mad at the situation. But he said, you know what, I come to fight. I did all my training camp. And, let's do it like that. He didn't really care about it. He was eager to get in there.
And on that fight, what surprised me, too, was, I talked to Atkins, and he actually told me, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to keep it standing up. I'm going to strike with this guy. If we go to the ground, I have it under control. I talked to Charles, and Charles said, I'm going to stand up with him, being that Charles is a ground guy. But unfortunately, Atkins actually went for the takedown and took him down. That was the biggest mistake that he did, right?
Yeah, he took him down. He caught. Well, Charles hit him with a good leg kick. Then Atkins caught him with a good hook, a right hook, and then went for a takedown. And he just he paced himself on the ground, Charles, and then as soon as time was right, synced in that. Oh, he synced in the
armbar.
No, first it was a triangle, then adjusted to an armbar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you remember. He actually had that triangle, and jiu-jitsu being his bread and butter, and made the transition to that armbar, winning it in the first round, making that fight look easy. Yeah. Of course, he didn't have no pressure on him about losing the title or losing the contract because it was still in the bag due to Atkins not making the weight. What does that mean to you when a fighter doesn't make weight?
Man, I've been in that situation myself. Sometimes it's super hard. Your health is on it, and sometimes you don't make weight. But at times people take it real disrespectful. At times people say, what, it happens. Let's go in there and fight. It all depends who you're fighting and what's going on.
Is it a pound or 2 pounds, or if you're coming from Dallas or Houston and, you couldn't cut that weight. I know it definitely does vary. We had a situation Danny Salinas was supposed to fight on the card.
It's supposed to be main event. Actually.
Yeah, he was the main event, and he had trouble making the weight. He actually posted that he made the weight, but due to dehydration, he had to rehydrate and go to the hospital. The good thing is that he's doing good and healthy.
Yeah, he's good and healthy. I mean, things like that are in risk. Your health is at risk. Sometimes, a lot of fighters don't really know how to cut weight, or sometimes, there's some difficulties in the weight cut. But it's very important to stay healthy. If you don't make the weight, it happens. It's all right. But next time come prepared. But I mean, one to 4 pounds, it's okay. I mean, after 7, 8, or 10 pounds, 12 pounds, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, guys, there you go. So when we come back, we'll be talking about STFC the following week after the Hero FC, and we'll talk a little bit about more of that event. Thank you. Hey guys, Noe B, we're back, and we're here to talk about STFC, the last event that they had, June 12th. Man, it was a good card, man. I liked it. I had a good time out there. The main event was Sam Gagrolia. I don't know if I pronounced it right.
Hard to pronounce.
Versus Adani Rodriguez.
From Spain.
Yeah, he was actually from Spain, man. So they had a lot of fighters from different parts of the world, from Brazil. They kind of mixed it up. Mexico. It was definitely a great card, man. On the main event, Sam won that fight by split decision. A lot of people thought, it was a split decision. So a lot of fans thought that Rodriguez won the fight. A lot of people thought that Sam won the fight. But overall, it was a good fight. I think it could have gone either way. But let's talk about the co-main event, man, which is very exciting. You know a little bit about that co-main event. Ricardo Palacios versus Ricardo Diaz. Man, what was, tell us about that fight, man.
Man, it was a real good fight. I was well prepared for that fight. I was real focused. I didn't see myself losing the fight. And, I went in there focused with, I really didn't have a game plan. I trained my butt off for this fight. I actually went to Savannah, Georgia, trained at Champion Training Center. And then I went to Miami, Florida, and trained with a few wrestlers out there, Chino Duran. And, I was well prepared for this fight. And I did my boxing here at Mission Boxing. So, wherever the fight took me, I was actually really ready.
And we talked about that earlier in our earlier segment where, about traveling around as a fighter, and that's what you did. Now, that fight, man, before the fight, we got to see you and, see you in the dressing room. And half the time you went in the dressing room, you were walking around, relaxed. That's something that you're used to, just relaxing, walking around, watching the fights?
Yeah, I love to watch the fights and go with my family and fans. I like to see what's out there, what's going on, and trying to put a lot of things in my head, see what mistakes are happening, see who's dominating, how they're dominating. It's just something that I like to do, I don't like to be in the back, and it kind of messes with my mind a little bit when I'm just in the back just there.
Kind of keeps your mind at ease, right?
Yeah, because, I'm having fun, and, I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm watching one of my favorite sports.
As a matter of fact, Miguel Cotto actually likes to do that. Every time he has a fight, he actually goes and sits down, watches the preliminary fights, and up and coming to the main event, then he goes back to the dressing room. So I guess it works a lot for a lot of fighters. I know a lot of fighters like to stay in the zone, don't talk to me, I'm listening to music or whatnot. And, I've known you since the amateurs, and I know that's what you would do. You would always like to walk around, meet your fans and everything. So, let's talk about that fight, man. In the first round, you knew you were going up against a good guy, man. He looked like he was ready to fight. He came from Mexico, but he was tall. Yeah, he was definitely tall. But being a Mexican fighter, the height doesn't matter. There's ways of chopping that down, and you definitely showed it. In the first round, you started picking your shots. Did you know you had the whole fight under control in the first round, the minute it started?
Well, I was just trying to dominate. I wasn't looking. I was trying to see, I'm winning the fight, am I losing the fight? I'm just trying to pick him apart with his mistakes. As soon as I see an opening, I was going, attacking, picking my shots. I threw several body kicks, several leg kicks, and I felt solid. I felt good. I felt I dropped him in the first round with an overhand right. I felt him fading away. But fighters are dangerous. Doesn't matter when, or what time. It could be the last second of the last round, and they could still be dangerous. So I'm always cautious, and I'm picking my shots. And until I really, see where he's, hurt, then I'll go for the kill.
Well, what I saw in the first round, then I saw you opening up. You started catching him with some hits to the head. Then he lifted his hands up, and you caught him with a nice straight punch to the body. And we talked about this too. You know, he tried coming back with a knee, but you worked a good angle on that. And that knee looked a little bit vicious, but it missed you. You know, you could say, as a boxing point of view, you could say by a landslide, even though to a fan it looks like right next to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close one. I felt it. I saw it, and I even thought to myself, man, that was close. But you know, it's things that we work on, catching an angle while throwing that, you know, that punch. But we don't know if a knee's coming. We don't know if a kick's coming. We don't know if an uppercut is coming. But we practice it because we practice to an angle to come back with that counter hook on top. Which I didn't come back with the counter, but I did that angle nice where it worked for me.
That's something that we kind of work on too in the boxing. You know, you got to throw it with confidence. You can't hesitate. You throw it the right way. If you throw it the right way, you're protected. Don't worry about it. Just throw the damn punch. Yeah. That's what I tell my guys. Just throw the punch. You're gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. You know, but you know you can always get caught. But you definitely executed that fight. Then coming into the second round, man, you controlled him. You dominated him. You picked your shots again, and then he didn't have anything else to give to you, man. He couldn't throw no more kicks. He couldn't throw no punches. He didn't even know where to put his hands, up or down. You were just picking away, man.
Yeah, I worked his body. I worked his head. So, you know, he was lost as in to what to defend and what to throw. And as soon as I saw him hurt, I executed with a top, bottom. And he went down with body shots. That's actually the second fight I TKO with body shots.
Well, actually, I'm gonna correct you on that. You didn't get the TKO. You actually got a KO. You got a KO in the second round, 3 minutes and 14 seconds in the fight. So you know the difference between a KO and a TKO is a referee stoppage. He couldn't continue anymore. So you actually got the KO on that fight, man. So it's even more impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive. I just saw him on the floor. He had grabbing his ribs, and he couldn't get up. It took him a while to get up.
Yeah, and you know you had the main event, and you were the co-main event, and then the fight right before you. And I know you didn't get to see it much, but Guillermo da Costa versus John. I can't pronounce his name. Nuncio. Noniso. Well, actually, that was I mean, I can't say it was a good fight because there was a one-sided fight. Da Costa dominated the whole fight himself. I think he's the one that threw all the punches. Well, not really punches, but he threw all the kicks. I mean, he threw 3 rapid kicks to the body continuously, you know, just quick, and was able to land it. The kicks were echoing in there, and he definitely controlled it. You know, I was talking to him, and, you know, he tells me that he has a lot of good Muay Thai and, well, jiu-jitsu. You know, people think jiu-jitsu is his bread and butter, but, you know, he said he started more on Muay Thai. That fighter, he's coming up for a title, man. What do you expect from him, man?
As in the title fight or in his career?
His career overall.
I mean, he's young, talented, has a lot of room to work, you know, more on his technique. You know, if they give him, you know, more training, more time, he's going to be, you know, somebody to reckon with.
Now, you know, I overheard, I don't know if it's a for sure thing, you know, you could say it is, but he's coming up for a title. He told me he was more nervous about this fight because they were going to give him a title shot, of course, with a good friend of ours, Luke Flores. And Luke is a way different fighter, too. He's a great fighter, very exciting. Both have Muay Thai experience and jiu-jitsu as well, too, which... man, that fight, I know it's kind of hard to say who's going to win it, but for fans, are they going to expect a real good fight if that fight happens?
Man, it's going to be a real technical fight. That's what I'm thinking. You know, they're both Muay Thai fighters. They're both jiu-jitsu guys. It's going to be real technical. You know, for everybody's going to be hard to pick and choose. For friends and family, I mean, obviously we go with the person we care and love more. But it's going to be a great fight for the fans, a great fight for everybody out there, probably even fight of the night. You know, they're both undefeated fighters, 4-0. Both of them are 4-0, so somebody old has to go.
Yeah, exactly, man. I'm excited about that fight. I don't know what would happen. I've seen Luke Flores fight. I've seen him since he started. I've seen his changes. Every time you see him fight, he's a different fighter. Yeah, he's had a lot of submissions, but his Muay Thai is phenomenal. His striking's good. I mean, he trains with Frank Trevino. All the guys that train with Frank Trevino, their Muay Thai is excellent. But Da Costa as well, too, man. His jiu-jitsu, he trains with Diego. great jiu-jitsu and great Muay Thai. We've seen it in the ring. I mean, we've seen it in the cage,
Several times.
both.
Yeah.
So overall, that is going to be a fan fight that, hopefully STFC pulls that off and, they're in the works of it and making it happen. And that'll be a card that you don't want to miss.
Not at all.
What do you think about that one?
Man, I'm excited to see it. I mean, I'm rooting for my boy Luke Flores. Get that W and still be champion. But it's still gonna be a hard fight. If you see it both ways, if you see it on paper, if you see it anywhere you see it, it's gonna be a hard fight for both of them, and it's gonna be a real interesting fight.
You could definitely say I take my hat off to both guys, win or lose. It's gonna be a war. I don't think it's gonna be a one-round knockout or you never know. But it could go either way, man. That's the fight to look out for, guys. Well, when we come back, we'll talk about more combative sports down in the Rio Grande Valley and.